All right, we're live, guys. Welcome to episode 7, WP Roundtable. Today we're talking about workflows for development and any other WordPress-related work. And we're going to get insight on how all of us handle our traditional workflows, what tools we use to get the job done. So we're going to start with Brian. Introduce yourself.
Hey guys, I'm Brian Redder. I'm a web developer in Dayton, Ohio. Mainly work in WordPress. Do quite a bit of development using Vagrant, which I'll get into when we talk about our personal workflows.
All right, Kellen.
Next. My name's Kellen Mates. I'm a freelance web developer from Detroit, Metro Detroit area, from east side of Michigan. Happy to be on tonight.
Hey everybody, I'm Nathan Driver. I am actually a digital media strategist / web developer here in Dayton, Ohio as well. Welcome everyone.
All right, Jason, you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, Jason Crawford. I'm coming from a coffee shop here in Medellin, Colombia tonight, and it's so loud around here that I might not be able to talk much.
Woohoo!
We're glad to have you anyways.
Did I say that out loud? I love you, Jason. That's cool.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah. All right, we're gonna try to get along for the next hour and talk about workflows. So, oh, and there's me. I'm Kyle Maurer, lead developer for Real Big Marketing, based in Jackson, Michigan. I do a lot of development work, and so when it gets to my turn, I'll talk a little bit about the tools I use and the process I go through to create my projects, push them to the server, and get the job done. So, who wants to go first?
Yeah, I can take it.
Go ahead.
Brian's got this.
If you want. I can go last.
Well, mine is short. Mine is very short.
Go for it, Nate.
Well, then, Nate, you can just, if you're ready, let's go.
I mean, mine is short. I mean, I use the standard MAMP, but since we have so many people, I work for an advertising agency, and we have so many people from the designers to copywriters to basically myself with the SEO and developer that we utilize Basecamp, which is from 37 Signals, to actually help utilize our workflow. And we found that to be basically our traditional way to get our projects kind of rolling through better. See, I told you it'd be quick.
Oh. I was really excited to hear about your workflow. And I didn't even get a chance to take notes. It was so quick.
I know. Well, the thing is, there's so many hands in the pot that, you know, we develop it, the designers, they give us the PSDs, we flip it, and, you know, I develop on a local host if I do it, or someone else internally, and then we push it out to a dev server, and then our designers, our copywriter, you know, myself, there's about at least 3 to 5 different people on the dev site flipping things, turning things around. We want this widget over here, we want this here, and we're utilizing Basecamp to basically assign items. You know, oh, we need copy for this, we need to extend that, and then we just kind of push it up to the client.
That's great. Yeah, and a really important factor in defining your workflow is how much you collaborate and who you're collaborating with and what kind of work they're doing. And so that has a big impact, I think, on what workflows you develop for working. So I think some of us here collaborate with a lot of people like yourself, and others don't collaborate quite as often. So it'll be interesting to see how our workflows differ as a result. So who's next? Brian?
Everyone's jumping. Sure. All right, so with what Nate was talking about, I actually started my development using MAMP. I used MAMP for 3 years or so, where I had originally come from just installing everything myself, PHP, MySQL, all that stuff. But I found it to be kind of clunky-ish utilizing MAMP. and I found that MAMP is not awesome. I've switched over to using Vagrant, and if you guys don't know what Vagrant is, it is this amazing tool that it lets you essentially create your own virtual boxes from command line. I do a lot in the command line. I don't do a lot with GUIs or anything like that. But it's a command line tool that runs on VM or Virtualbox. So you have to have Virtualbox installed. You have to have Vagrant installed. But once you have that, because I work in a team day to day, I want everyone in my team to have the exact same server environment. And with MAMP, there's so many different configurations in MAMP, you can't really share those configurations, or you didn't used to be able to. I don't know if MAMP 3 does that now. I see it just came out with quite a bit of improvement. I don't know if any of you have played with it yet. But with Vagrant, I can essentially box up my own virtual box and send it on to one of my colleagues, and then they can spin up that same exact box in the state that I created the box from. So if you guys want, I've got a little, I can walk you through the process of this. Let me just share my screen here. So the first thing you have to do, you guys see my screen all right? Yeah, looks like it. First thing you have to do is install VirtualBox. You can it's a free free application, just virtualbox.org. Go and download the I'm on a Mac, so I download the OS X host. The new one's really nice. It is 64-bit as well as 32, so they've got both. Really, it essentially runs a virtual machine on your Mac. In that program, once you get it up, it runs, just looks like this. So over on the left here, you'd have all your different machines that you're running. Typically, my work computer, I'll have machines that are running, IE 7 through IE Edge, whatever it is, as well as some other boxes where I can run multiple versions of like Firefox or multiple versions of Chrome, things like that. Second thing you need is Vagrant. Again, another free service, vagrantup.com. And this is what the brains of the whole development process is. Their tagline, development environments made easy, and it's truly simple to set up. So once you get that downloaded in your command line, let me blow this up for just a little bit, you'll have a new option here where you can just Vagrant, and it'll give you a bunch of different options here, whether it's spinning up a new box, destroying a box, creating a box, adding different plugins for it, things like that. So once you get that done, and you spin up a new box, I suggest downloading something called Vagrant Manager. What that is for people that don't necessarily use Terminal. It gives you this little menu icon up here. This is only Mac, only available on Mac, but it lets you do all the commands that you would have to do in the terminal, whether it's the reload up, SSH into the box, destroy it, things like that. You can do it just from clicks of the mouse. So I've gone ahead and created a box through something called Homebrew, which is from Laravel. It was created just to make it easy for Laravel development, but I actually use it for WordPress as well. So with that Vagrant box, I've created just 10-15 minutes ago this website. So this is actually running on VirtualBox, or on VirtualBox through Vagrant. So if I were to halt my box here, give that just a minute to shut down, you'll see once it shuts down there, it's powered off. My where did you go? Let's move this out of the way. My browser here, I refresh the screen, and there my service is down because my box is no longer running. So let me spin this back up, and then I can show you a couple other tools that make this this process a lot easier. Here you can see that manager here. Just one click, it's spinning up my box, turning everything on. It does. The nice thing about it, it does mount your local files to the virtual environment. So if I make changes locally on my host machine, within milliseconds, it'll show up on my virtual machine, which is really nice. Now, when you do boot, it sometimes will ask you for your computer's password. Just type it in, and it'll keep booting. So, how do you configure the VirtualBox? That's one of the big questions. So now that that's up, I can refresh here. And my website's back up. So I can take the screenshot of that and send the package off to a colleague, and they will see the exact same thing I have from this point. So creating a VirtualBox, I use a tool called Vagrant. It's Vagrant Provisioning Bash Scripts. Now, what this means is, let me just do a little bit of a live demo here. WordPress new test. So this is a little command line tool that I built. Essentially create a new WordPress install just from the command line. Like I said, I do everything via command line. So now if I go into test, CD in the directory, you'll see the clean WordPress install. So what I can do from here with Vapor Bash is go in, copy this. My actual machine, I have an alias, so I just type Vapor Bash. But I just curl that file and nano into Vagrant file, this is the configuration for that. So here I can create my host name. Vapor Bash utilizes xip.io, which creates a nice clean URL for me, so I can share the URL across the office space, and they can see everything on my machine here, which is really nice. If you guys haven't checked out xip.io, I'd recommend going to look at it. So test.dev, I can set my IP address, whatever I want, MySQL 5.5, any kind of composer packages that I want to install globally. And then here's where I get into the core stuff. This is where it's syncing my folder, my current folder I'm in, to the /vagrant folder on the Vagrant box. Keep scrolling down here just a little bit. Here's my base packages, so this is actually going to install the operating system, install PHP. Vapor Bash has the ability to do MS SQL for PHP just by uncommenting the script. And then web servers, there's two options. I can do an Apache web server, which is what I typically do, so we just uncomment that line. If you want Nginx, you just uncomment this line and comment back out the Apache.base. I want MySQL. By default, the MySQL username and password are defined at the top of this file, which is root and root by default from the download. You can install any of these other databases or anything like that. Search servers, a lot of the stuff you can just skip over for a pretty simple WordPress install. Then you have frameworks. I utilize Composer for some of my projects. You can install Laravel from here, Symfony, Mailcatcher. And then this last line here is any kind of local scripts you want to do. So what I'll do sometimes is I'll create a script to actually create my database file, or my database for the WordPress install. That way I don't have to SSH into it. I'm not going to do that right now just because of time. Let me exit out of this and save it. So now that I'm in here, I can do a Vagrant up, and what this is going to do is spin up a brand new virtual environment. So it takes a little bit. It's going to download the actual OS, Ubuntu Trust 64. Where I'm not going to wait for all of this. But once you're done with that, and that all installs, let me just go back into my sites directory. Once you do all that, you can do a, sorry, wrong directory, Vagrant SSH. And once that's SSH'd, you're into your Virtualbox, so ls. And there's my files on my local machine, but it's synced to the Virtualbox. So that's kind of a quick rundown about Vagrant and Virtualbox. I find it extremely handy to use in my everyday development. We use it on a daily basis at work for sharing the system back and forth, make sure everyone has the same exact information as we do throughout the environment between developers. So that's what I've got.
All right. That was awesome, Brian. Man, riveting stuff.
Yeah. So it seems like a lot right at start, but once you get the actual environment set up on your system, it's really as simple as downloading that Vagrant file, the Vapor Bash, and then typing Vagrant up. And that's all you have to do.
I love it.
I can probably go next. Kyle, if that sounds all right.
Yeah, do it.
Cool, all right. All right, let me do a quick screen share. All right, folks. I thought I'd just start with a list. Here's Brian again. No. I thought I'd just start with a brief list of, I think, the most popular ones out there. So some of these we've already touched on, right? MAMP, WAMP for Windows environments, XAMPP, desktop server has quite a following, and then Vagrant that Brian just outlined. I think it's worth mentioning also MAMP used to be Mac only, but now I think as of version 3.0 they've introduced a Windows beta version to that as well.
It's still in beta today.
Yeah, yeah. So I think now they're renaming. It used to be Mac, you know, Apache, MySQL, PHP, but now for the Windows version they're just saying it stands for My, right? My Apache, MySQL, PHP, etc. But I actually use none of these, believe it or not. I have kind of a homebrew method, I guess it would be, and it's kind of inspired by a good friend of mine who's also a great WordPress developer, Brian Richards, who's some of the folks watching this, you might know. He's one of the organizers of WordCamp Grand Rapids, and also the guy behind WPSessions.com, which is another great learning tool out there. But I'll switch to a blog post he did quite a while ago. This was at the end of 2012. With this one, Brian had this article about configuring a local Apache, PHP, and MySQL dev environment this is specific to Mac OS X. He says, let's see, why not just use MAMP? If you're wondering, I like to set up my local development environment instead of using MAMP because I prefer to have it always available. I'll pause there for a quick second. I've used MAMP in the past, and it's pretty good, right, to keep up and to get up and running and to use. But it's every time you boot up your computer, you have to also start that. Every time you shut down, you have to shut down that. Whereas this is always listening, so to speak, because you've after you go through installing MySQL and PHP, all the three necessary parts, you've essentially rerouted, a few web addresses on your computer. So basically, I set up, like, my last name is Mace, M-A-C-E. On my local computer, I set up, if I go to mace.wp, that instead of trying to find that web address on the internet somewhere, it redirects it to my local server and just brings up my collection of WordPress sites, so I can work on any of them there. I'll keep reading here. The rest of his post says, I never liked having a separate application running just so I could access my local web setup. Also, it has always bothered me that MAMP bundled its own copies of PHP, Apache, and MySQL. when the only missing component that doesn't come preloaded with macOS 10 is MySQL. Right? So it kind of makes sense, I guess, if it comes pre-bundled with 2 of them. You know why you need a whole extra layer just to get the MySQL. So this is a pretty good guide. I'll include this in my blog post this week, and also probably in the show notes, just this URL if anybody would be interested in setting it up this way. I'm thinking about switching to Vagrant. I think there is a bit of a learning curve, as Brian already said. It sounds like a really great way to go for standardization, especially using Vagrant. But for now, I'm using this this method, just kind of configuring my own dev environment this way. I thought also worth mentioning is just along the lines of my workflow is using Backup Buddy for migrations. All right. So this is just our main page, the logo. It's super popular, backup plugin in the WordPress community. But another thing it does very, very well, makes very easy, is doing site migrations from local to live production environment, and also the other way around as well. Right? You might not guess that from the name. The name is just Backup Buddy, but one of its great perks is doing site migrations as well. So I highly recommend Backup Buddy. It's what I use for all my migrations. They have this great video on how to use the magic migration tool, it's called, where essentially you just take your zip file that represents one bundled up website and one other PHP file called importbuddy.php, and that's all you need. As long as you can send those, but just by using any FTP client, as long as you can send those to whatever server you want the website to go to, then that's all you need. It will unpack, it will decompress that zip file, rebuild the database just as it was before on your dev environment when you were working on it, or vice versa on the site when it was live before you pulled it down, that kind of thing. It'll rebuild everything for you. Saves hours and hours of time. So I use those two things combined, just the local environment and then Backup Buddy for migrations back and forth. And that's all I had.
Thanks, Gillen.
Yeah, no problem.
It's cool to think of configuring your own environment in that way. Work straight from your Mac. I haven't talked to anybody else doing it quite that way before, but that's pretty sweet. Yeah,
it was new to me as well. I had heard of all those commercial options, and thought that my kind of list of possibilities would start and end there. But Brian, being a good friend of mine, said, "Oh, let me show you this, these tools I've pieced together to create my own local environment that's kind of always live, so to speak. So there's no such thing as starting and stopping, a third-party app to do it." So yeah, he helped me configure that, and it's been great since then. Like I said, Vagrant, I might be switching to that, but it's probably the next best thing I would say for now.
Yeah, that's pretty legit. So I don't know if Jason wants to talk about his workflow or not, but I can talk about things. If you want to go, Jason?
Okay, I'm going to give this a try, but there's a lot of traffic and noise going on. Basically, I use MAMP and then migrate with Backup Buddy, and I'll just cover all of my posts this week because it's just too much noise going on for me to participate for too long here. You're doing a great job, Kyle.
Thanks, Jason. So, well, it's cool to still hear what tools you're using, so there's a lot of commonality between all of us, I think. So I guess I'll talk a little bit about my workflow. I use something, I don't know if you guys have heard of it, it's called Microsoft Front Page.
Bravo!
Bravo! Just release a new version.
Bravo!
Is that compatible with my Windows XP? I'm thinking about upgrading. I'm not sure yet.
What about my 95?
There you go.
Yeah. So yeah, no. Just seriously though, I use Adobe Dreamweaver. Okay, I can do this all day. No, I press editor for editing all my code.
Contribute.
Right. Okay, so there's a lot of great options out there, but there's also like a lot of not so great options. So for anybody like tuning in or ever watching this video, just keep in mind that like there's a lot of ways that you can work on your WordPress sites, and some of the easy, popular ones are actually pretty terrible. So for starters, there's this really handy, cool feature that's totally really nice of the people creating WordPress to include this whole editor thing right within WordPress. Like, that's really nice of them and everything. And somebody may disagree with me, but I doubt anybody here would. And that's like something to never ever use, pretty much, the built-in WordPress editor. So, you guys concur with me?
I disable it.
Do you really? Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Cool.
It kind of depends on the changes. If it's a minor change, then yeah, I might use it on the fly. But that's very rare occasions. I'll try to change it on a local and push it up.
The reason I don't is because I do everything in Git. So if I do a change in the editor, my Git repository needs updated, and I hate updating from the server. I'd rather push updates to the server.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Similar reasons for me as well. Like, even if it's a small, minor change, it's always preferable to me to be editing it on my computer and be able to just like hit undo or something, or have a local copy of the file. You know, no matter how minor the changes is, it's not significantly more time-consuming or difficult to edit the file locally and push it, pull it down, and such. So, for those reasons, I never use the built-in WordPress editor, and if that's the only takeaway from this video today, to not use that going forward, it'd probably be worth watching. So moving on to like some of my actual workflow, I don't actually use any of those bogus tools like I talked about, but I'll still say that my workflow is not the best workflow. I've still got some things to work on and try and improve it, but it's not too bad. It's not quite as awesome as Brian's, because I'm not so good with the Git stuff yet. Still working on that. But I'll show you guys real quick just a little glimpse of what my workflow looks like. I'm going to try and share my screen on my secondary computer, which is here. Can you guys see my screen now as the primary? You guys looking at some code? No?
Yeah.
Yes.
Now you are?
Yep.
Okay. Okay, so this is my other computer, and I do all my development here on my MacBook because I don't know, I just couldn't imagine doing my development on a PC. But that's just me. So I do my coding in Sublime Text 2, which is a really awesome application for modifying your files. On the left, you'll have your file structure. So I can scroll through all my projects, all my open plugins and themes. I actually have an installation of WordPress here set up. And I guess to step back, I have used some tools like Vagrant. I used Vagrant before for my local development. But the problem I ran into was it was pretty resource intensive, and my MacBook's like really freaking old, and so it just couldn't handle booting up this server every time. So I kind of got away from using that. Plus, most of my websites are hosted on WP Engine, which means we've got a staging environment for our sites, and so I do a lot of my development that way. Although I would like to do more local development, and I think what I may end up using will be desktop server. I'd like to give that a try, but that's on my to-do list. So back to this beautiful, pretty code. Sublime Text 2 is a really awesome application for working on your projects for a number of reasons. One, I think it's really a smart program and really easy to use. And two, it has tons and tons of available extensions, you might call them, plugins for Sublime Text 2 to help aid your workflow a little bit. And so I'm looking right now just at a plugin that I recently developed. This is an extension for another plugin. And I have a WordPress plugin installed for Sublime Text 2, which basically allows me to access all the built-in WordPress functions and do stuff like this kind of automatically without having to remember syntax or anything like that. I can start typing in a function that I'm pretty sure of, and Sublime Text will kind of pre-populate it with the function that I'm looking for, as well as the accepted arguments and stuff. So I find that to be super handy, especially for really complicated ones. Let's see if I can do this. WP query, for example, I do all the time. So if you start typing in a new WP query, and I just select it, it'll fill out a whole query for me with all the available query parameters that I can use. I kind of just take out the parameters that I don't need, and then I've constructed a query in record time. And I don't need to keep referring to the codex like I always used to for syntax and available arguments and parameters and stuff like that. So I really love these built-in packages in Sublime Text 2 that kind of speed up my flow. Since I'm always developing in WordPress, I like having those WordPress functions there. Plus, syntax highlighting is great. And also, there's an SFTP plugin for Sublime Text 2 as well, which allows me to get a little keyboard shortcut with which I can SFTP my files to the server. So to step back, typically, if I were wanting to push my files to the server, I'd be using Filezilla, and then just moving the file from my local machine to the server. And what I like to do now, depending on my project, I'll use a plugin for Sublime Text 2 that allows me to push with a shortcut key to the defined server directory. So I can just hit the shortcut key, and you'll see down here on the screen it's just FTP in the file up to the directory that I specified in my SFTP config.json file. So that's kind of handy to speed up my workflow, and so I'll usually be developing themes or plugins on a staging environment on my WP Engine server, and then I can collaborate with other people because we could be working in the same staging environment on the web, and I'll be coding in Sublime Text 2, and as I save, I can push it to the server right from Sublime, and preview on the web, and then my collaborator buddies can do the same thing, and I can demo stuff for a client on a staging site, so we don't even bother with the production site until everything gets the thumbs up from the client, and go from there. And so the only other addition to my workflow is I use the GitHub application for Mac, which I think is pretty freaking sweet. I can kind of show you guys real quick how it works. I go and I edit here's what I'll do. I'll edit the README for a plugin that I've been working on, where I noticed some dummy put in a pound sign instead of an asterisk for one of these bullet points in the README. So I'll save that, and as I save it, here's what I love about the GitHub program. I'll go here to this repository, and it'll show me, give me a visual preview of what's been changed in the files since my last commit. And I really love just looking at this visually and being able to see what has been changed since the last time I committed, and I can just make a quick commit. Very descriptive commit message, and then I can sync it with my GitHub repo on github.org. And I can also look at my, hold on. I can also look at the commit history here visually, which is really handy. And just select all the different commits and look at the files that were changed, the parts of the files that were changed, so on and so forth. So this is kind of like my way of somewhat version controlling some of my projects and collaborating with others on them kind of in my own way. But it's not perfect or amazing, but it works for me, and one of these days I'm going to get a nicer Mac and I'll start doing it a smarter way. So that's enough. That's totally enough for me. I'm sick of talking.
I have a question for you, Kyle. I saw some reference to SAS. Do you use a GUI for SAS?
I do not use a GUI. I use Compass. So all you have to do to use SAS is install Compass via the command line, and then within a project, like here, you will place a config file. It kind of specifies how your project is structured, and then this is where I get in the command line. Watch this. Then in the command line, you say Compass watch right here once you navigate to that directory. And it will start compiling the SCSS files as you specified.
Gotcha. Have you checked out CodeKit or any of those apps, or has anybody?
I know people who use it, but I haven't. I've just used Compass.
All right. Yeah, I'm thinking about jumping over to get serious about using SAS. So I'm thinking about doing it all via command line or launching one of those apps. So.
Yeah, once you go SAS, you don't go back.
Yeah.
That's a fact.
Jack.
Yeah.
I use Grunt for my SAS. So
Use Grunt.
yeah.
Is it the best?
I don't use SAS a whole lot.
No.
What do you do for your styling then, Brad?
I don't style.
You don't style?
You have no style. No, I'm just kidding.
I don't. It's okay. I admit it. No, I'm not a CSS person. I let other people handle that.
All right.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah.
I'll use it when I can. You know, if I'm just building off of somebody else's base theme or whatever, and there's no SAS to be found, then I guess I don't have a choice. But we're gonna go from the ground up, though. I was gonna start doing it.
How does SAS handle styling frames?
I don't know. Good point.
Frames. I thought those were banned.
They went out with the blink tag.
Not iframes, frames.
No, frame.
Oh, all
Yeah.
Yeah, whoa. Yeah.
All right. How about I have another one for you. Filezilla versus Cyberduck.
Filezilla.
Filezilla.
Yeah, way better.
Yep.
Yeah.
I found Cyberduck couldn't communicate with some of my servers, and it would
Really?
crash a lot.
I use Cyberduck right now. It just looked simpler. You know, I didn't necessarily need like my local file structure and the server all in the one window. So I just drag back and forth from a Finder window, anyways. So it seemed like just a simpler interface, but I don't know if I'm missing out on anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I enjoy Filezilla a lot more. It's a lot more robust, in my opinion.
Yeah. What's the other one? It's Panic Transmit or whatever is really popular. I think it's called.
I'm not sure of that one.
I think the brand is, or the company is Panic, and then the product is Transmit. But I hear people talking about how good that is. Anyways, has everybody spoken?
Yeah, but I'm turning on my other computer really quick if I can get it to log in, because I want to show you one other really nice tool that I use. So if you guys have something to chat about.
Yeah, I really want to see this thing that Brian's going to share. It's the thing I think he's going to share.
Oh, what do you think I'm sharing?
I think you're going to share that thing you said you were going to share earlier.
Uh-oh.
The command line tool?
Yeah, that thing.
Oh, I can do that too. I wasn't going to share that.
Oh, jeez.
Oh, cat's out of the bag.
But, I mean, I can.
Do you want to cut the hangout short and do the soft line, or keep it rolling?
No, I can do it.
Oh, yeah. These are fun. These live.
All right. So I used it when I was talking about Vagrant. Let me share my screen here again. So I got tired of going through the process of, going to WordPress, WordPress.org, find the download, click the download WordPress here, download the WordPress, unzip it, put it in the file I need. Since I do a lot in the command line, I just want to keep in the command line. So if I go back out to my sites, maybe. Oh. I was in my Virtualbox. So I'm here in my sites, and I want to create a new WordPress. So I created a command line tool where I can just type in WordPress. So I've got a command called WordPress new. So I do WordPress new, and then from the folder I'm within, which is usually my sites folder, I want to create a new website. So, I do everything reverse. WP Roundtable. Create a new WordPress site. So what that's doing is it's going out, fetching the latest version of WordPress, downloading that zip file. And once it downloads the zip file, it's going to extract that zip file into this folder. So now if I do an ls, you'll see my my new WP Roundtable site, cd into it. And there's my WordPress install. So
Awesome.
I've done that, and then let's see, move WP, actually copy. WP config. So occasionally I'll need to reset my keys. So like this one, if I just create my WP config file manually, it's put in your unique phrase here. Now they give you this URL to go to and download new keys, then you have to put them in here. Again, a lot of work for me. Sounds kind of ridiculous, but I want to do it via the command line. So what I can do is WordPress keys. Now I go into there. There's all my new keys. So nice, quick, and easy way to do stuff. I'm actually in the process of working on WordPress Vagrant, which will actually build a Vagrant box for you, things like that. So my other computer's up now. Now let me log into the Hangout again. This tool is, if you're a developer, you need to have this tool. Let me close out of here. Join in here. Share my screen. Oh. There we go. Sorry, guys. Share my screen, if it'll let me. Okay. So the tool that I'm using is called Alfred. If you guys don't know what Alfred is, take a look. It's really nice. I can do. I've got it set to option space. Pops up this little window here. You guys see on my screen, I hope.
No, not yet.
No.
Anything?
Euler.
I've got two guys down here. Just do the other one.
Do the other. Okay.
So.
Okay, go ahead.
All right, cool. So Alfred, it's this window that pops up here when I do option space. And then what I can do is I've got workflows set up. So if I want to connect to a Filezilla site, an FTP site, I do FZ, and here's all my Filezilla sites, or my sites that I can connect to. Through Filezilla. So I select it, hit enter. What it's going to do is open up Filezilla and connect me to my site I just connected to, or requested to connect to. Another tool is if I'm in Terminal or Finder, and let's say I want to open up, create this design website. I can do the option space again, type FI, and it's going to open Finder to iTerm. So once that opens up, it's going to CD into that directory for me, and now I've got my terminal into my directory. Some other things that are in here. Let me just open up my preferences. Workflows. I've got things like can I use? So can I use certain functions? And it's going to go out and search the caniuse.com database. Font awesome. So if I want to find a font awesome icon, I can just do FA and start typing, Twitter. So there's all my Twitter classes that I can use. I want to do, what is my IP address? I can just type IP. There's my IP address. Couple that I've built personally is like PHP Storm. If I want to open something from PHP Storm, which is my editor, which was my replacement for Sublime Text. I used to use it, but I switched to PHP Storm. But I can just do pstorm, and it's going to open my current directory from Finder in PHP Storm. So things like that. It just makes it really easy for me to take care of things. If I want to generate a password, PWG, number of characters, 8, and then that's going to copy it to my clipboard. Anything that I can do to prevent myself from having to take my hands off of my keyboard to touch my mouse, I'll do it. Because the more I touch my mouse, the more time I spend in the day not working. So this is, in my opinion, if you're using a computer for development on a Mac, this is a must-have.
That's awesome, Ryan.
It is, yeah.
Just blew my mind.
Yeah. So here's that command line tool. I created it for Alfred too. Just type WP with location, and it's gonna work in the background building a WordPress site for you into that directory.
That's awesome.
That is cool. I like that.
So all it does is it's a trigger for this bash script.
It's pretty nice, Brian.
So that's what I've got. I'll quit talking now.
Cool, man.
All right. Well, I don't want to embarrass myself, so anybody else have anything to share about workflows?
I got a question for you.
Uh-oh. Crap.
So I think you're the only one here that truly develops plugins that are on the repository.
Yeah.
When you develop plugins, are you developing all your plugins on one WordPress install?
Ooh.
Or do you develop each plugin on a new WordPress install?
Good question.
I don't know. I don't want to embarrass myself here. I develop my plugins on a WordPress install, usually. And that's it.
That's
Oh, crap.
I just got another one approved today.
Oh yeah?
cool.
Yeah, that's pretty sweet.
Wow.
I have one plugin on the repo, but it's broken and it's not my fault. It's Google's fault. I learned. I'm serious. I'm serious. I tie into the YouTube iframe API, and some functionality they say works in the documentation does not. I have to have, in order to get my plugin to work, I have to require Flash be used. Like there used to be a non-Flash easy way to do it.
Right.
But it stopped as of a couple months ago. People all over Google's code, message boards and stuff like that, forums are leaving all kinds of posts that it's broken for them too. I'm bummed out. The other night I devoted like a couple hours and I went through my code and refactored it all, so it's pretty and the latest and greatest, and make sure I was doing everything right, and it still wouldn't work. And then I read all those comments and I was like, this is frustrating. So when I get some bad ratings in the repo, don't think less of it. Don't think less of it, guys. I try. What?
I said that sucks. That would be so frustrating to have a rely on a third party.
Yep. It's just monitoring YouTube videos for a status change. So Kyle, my plugin, right? Just adds the YouTube play icon to the title bar.
Yeah.
Right. So I used to be a couple months ago. It worked like a charm. You could set up JavaScript listeners, and they would just pay attention to that video, right? And the moment there was a state change, either it was playing or paused or buffering or queued or whatever else, it would just trigger an event, and you could do something with it. You could say, hey, when you start playing, do this, or when you pause, do this other thing. Whatever your code dictated, that's what would happen. But all of a sudden, those status changes aren't captured anymore. They're just gone with the wind. I know. All right, I say we end the hangout, man. We're trailing off.
Oh my gosh, I'm still recouping from a long weekend. So
Yeah.
It was a great weekend.
Well, next week we're going to be Monday. We're back to Monday, right?
We're back to Mondays next week, so all of our audience, be advised, WP Roundtable, back to its normal time, so the world will be right again. Monday, 7 Jason time. So
8 o'clock, everybody else.
and our topic next week is to be decided. We might have a very special guest, so stay tuned.
Woo!
Yeah.
Stay tuned until then for a week.
Don't move.
For 6 days. Stay on this hangout.
I'm disappointed I'm going to have to miss next week.
Oh no!
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So, but 2 weeks. Should be an awesome talk, too.
Yes.
All right, somebody cut the hangout short.
All right.
All right.
Oh.
This is bad.